those teens who are really underneath this negative self-talk
Yeah.
has been going on.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you put a hurdle on top of a hurdle.
Yes, absolutely. And teenagers are in the developmental phase where they're developing metacognition, which is the ability to think about how they think and think about how they view themselves, and so like a deeper level of thinking. And
Yeah.
generally, when they hit that, all of a sudden they're flooded with self-doubt because they don't really know who they are and
Right.
what
Yeah.
what they're about, and they feel very lost. So the task of teenagers are to kind of discover who they are,
Right.
but if they don't know it's okay to be wondering and to feel kind of lost,
Right.
they will chew themselves up with negative self-talk because they will
Yeah.
notice the differences between them and all the young people on television, or
Right. People
the
that aren't talking about what they're thinking inside, and they're all thinking the same thing.
and that's and all teenagers are going through it at some level or the other. And so that they're all just really dealing with the questioning themselves and not feeling good about themselves. And some
Right.
kids will get to the other side of that quicker than others. And unfortunately, kids, especially with special needs, if they are noticing some abilities that some of their peers have and they are struggling with, that they can really get stuck on that negative self-talk.
Right.
And
And especially those things that the culture that we elevate and we
Mhm,
make front,
mhm.
decision makers about whether your worth is good or not. Like,
Yes.
your looks, or how well you do math, or, it's just, it's, it's all these things that we put on pedestals, and then yet kids, if they don't, if you give them the time and you motivate them in the right way, they can realize they have gifts in a lot of places.
That's right. I always tell the young people I work with that all kids are gifted. They are gifted in how God made them to be gifted. And,
Exactly.
our culture, you're right, is our culture tends to really reward the kids who are, high powered academians or athletes or musicians.
Right.
And so they get lots of attention, or they won the Bible Bowl at church. And
Yeah.
yeah. But if you're a kid who's got like average IQ or some ADHD, or some looks that are different,
Right.
it's really hard for kids at adolescent level. So as parents, it's really,
Yeah, I was gonna
really
ask.
important to help our kids to know that all kids are gifted. Like God has a plan for each kid, and we're not all supposed to be, professors at a university. They're broke anyway. You know, they're not all supposed to be athletes, because even the high school athletes, most of them are not going to grow up and be professional athletes.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
they're not all supposed to be rock stars, or
Right.
famous actors or actresses. Like, most people glorify God and fulfill who they are supposed to be by doing the ordinary things of life.
Yeah.
That's how God made us to be. And when we teach our kids to really notice, like, hey, you're good at figuring out how to fix things or bake cupcakes or be nice to the younger siblings. Like,
Right.
the daycare workers and the plumbers and the people that make America run are just the normal kids, or the kids who have overcome some difficulties to be able to fulfill their place. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I did a talk on biblical encouragement for the special needs parent, and the thing that I pointed out is God says perfection is what's in the Beatitudes, not what the person on YouTube that's getting all these millions of views, and that if we're moving our kids towards eternity, those are the things that we have to say. This is the coolest thing about you.
yes, yes, yeah, that's
Definitely.
beautiful. I need to look that up and watch that. Yeah,
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 yeah. It's yeah, it puts our focus back on what is really important, because we can get, even as parents, really hung up on the things of the world and be pushing our kids to find that thing that you're good at. And well, maybe the things that God made your child good at, and I know like with my adopted siblings, some of them were in wheelchairs, they were tube fed, they could hardly even speak or communicate, but God made them and they have purpose.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's the
Yeah.
beauty that we each
Well,
have.
yeah, and I think as we can train our kids to notice that when God makes someone, sometimes their purpose is to be, that each of us have these purposes that God has us here for, and to love that and to see that in themselves and other people, to look for those things that God made, that as they grasp hold of that, teens tend to come alive.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they can dream bigger dreams, because
Yeah.
they're not based on who I am anymore and what I
Yeah.
can manufacture, because that's really hard. I mean, we live in that society is what you are, what you do, instead of you are who you
Yeah.
you were made to be.